me clearly. America is not a racist country.
Ladies and gentlemen, Black children are facing so much racism that it's turning into a health crisis. This is according to new research that was done. Ignored complaints of students using racial slurs, Black children getting in trouble for reporting instances of discrimination, and white students mocking and reenacting the killing of George Floyd are all outlined in a lawsuit that hit a Georgia school district earlier this year. The case is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the repeated stress Black youth are exposed to as they're growing up. Racism and the chronic stress that it causes, it's withering Black Americans' health, driving health disparities from anxiety to heart disease and cancer. And it's starting at an incredibly young age. For Black children, that stress is often caused by racism that comes in school settings from peers, teachers, or administrators. It's bleeding into both a mental and physical health crisis. And for Black boys and girls, exactly how the stress looks and affects their bodies can vary by gender. New research from the University of Michigan shows that although racism might not be the most common type of discrimination, it has been the greatest impact on adolescents from age 13 to 19 that were surveyed. To measure impacts, the researchers looked at spikes in a stress hormone called cortisol. In and of itself, the presence of it in the body isn't harmful. On any given day, its levels fluctuate from morning to evening. The body's designed to handle it, but when the normal patterns are disrupted or it remains elevated for extended periods of time, in this case, as a result of discrimination, it erodes people's health, spiraling into health issues. Almost any chronic disease has a link to chronic stress. This is according to Dr. Rebecca Hansen. She is an associate professor at the University of Michigan and the study lead on this survey. In Utah, two Black teenage sisters are struggling in a predominantly white school district. These kids would sit in the back of the bus looking at me and talking about the N word and how it must really suck to be Black and a woman, one shared. Actually, no, it don't suck to be Black and be a woman, because we don't bring this stuff to ourselves. You actually come around us with it. When we're left alone, we're fine. We're perfectly fine. We're not upset about being Black and we're not upset over our gender. We're just fine without you. So let's go on. Some students began asking if I like bananas. You should have asked them if they like head lice. If I was good at climbing trees. This is interesting coming from the people that have the actual genes in their DNA and trying to implicate it's us and it's never been us. I just find that interesting. And they told her she looked like a monkey. Actually, we don't. Actually, the people that call us one, y'all look more like it. That's why if you go out on the internet, there are more memes out there with white people and memes with monkeys than there are black people and monkeys now. I guess y'all have not looked recently. If you go out there and look, most of those memes are the people that call us monkeys, and the comparison is with you and the monkey. And there's far more of that on the internet. In fact, it's a lot. Over the years, it's a lot. I guess, when y'all sit around and you don't bother to look at these things, then I guess you don't know, right? So, anyway, the stress from the racist incidents sometimes show up in their bodies as anxiety or uncontrollable body twitches. The Salt Lake City Tribune reported they are not alone. Reports of racism in schools have piled up across the country. Well, it's always been like this in America. I remember racist incidents when I was in school. I remember. I mean, it occurred then. It occurred, you know, uh, since schools have been really opened and we had to integrate. It's always been this way. This is really nothing new. This is an old historical problem that's always been there, and it always will be there as long as our people keep insisting on sending your children out the door to be under these kind of stresses. So the okay, so they said reports of racism in schools have piled up across the country. And the anxiety the sisters carry reflect a broader unease experienced by many black girls, research show. What do they worry about? They're concerned about what people of other races think about them, acceptance at school, and their futures. Oh, wait until you get a little older. You won't care about none of that stuff. You won't be concerned about their acceptance. Anyway, they said they're afraid of police brutality and stereotypes, unfairness, and sexism. Of the more than 400 Black girls between the ages of 11 to 18 surveyed in Ohio, over 60% believe they've been mistreated because of their race. And a similar percentage feel that they've been treated unfairly because of their gender. So, since then, this doctor, Fran Frazier, her work with other young Black girls has identified a handful of different stressors affecting their mental and physical health, from bullying to colorism to body shaming and difficulty with their identity. Many of our girls are always in fights, flight, and numbing situations, Frazier said. So, Black children on average experience the first microaggressions by the age of 6. That's true, especially if they got Karen as their teacher, Karen or Brad as their teacher. Yes, they are going to face those microaggressions. I did not face them until I was older because when I was going to school in the city of Philadelphia, I had a white kindergarten teacher, and then after that, for the next couple of years, my teachers were Black. So I did not really see it until I got later into elementary school when we left the city of Philadelphia and moved to New Jersey. That's when I started seeing it. I would say I was probably like around the 5th and 6th grade is when I really saw, because then I had Karen as my teacher. So, yeah, you really see it. And she makes sure, and she purposely shows those microaggressions in the classroom. And if y'all remember during the pandemic, a lot of Black parents caught it when they were taught online because they were able to see the mannerisms and how Karen was acting and conducting themselves in front of their Black children. And a couple of parents got upset and shut them down, you know? And we saw some of the videos of Black parents getting upset with Karen's conduct in front of children and the kind of conversation she was having with children, you know? And so they couldn't hide. Yeah, they hate remote learning because you get to see what they're really all about, and they can't stand that. They did not like that. So, anyway, back to this. Now, they said there were studies, race-based trauma, and it says they'll be exposed to microaggression multiple times a day as they're growing up, which can look like exclusion from groups or being made fun of for their physical appearance, like skin color. Actually, we got the best skin color on the planet because we are built for the sun. Okay, we can go out here, and when our people were slaves out on the plantation, I don't recall reading a lot about them needing sunscreen. Okay, even during Jim Crow and Reconstruction when they had their own towns, I didn't hear a lot of information coming out about they needed sunscreen and they were running around with all this skin cancer. Where are those stories? How come we haven't seen those stories over the years? You'll probably make some stupid shit up. I don't forget it. Don't answer that. So anyway, let's keep going. So an 18-year-old in Texas made national headlines after being suspended because of his locks, which violated the school's dress code. But they said there was a white student wearing locks, and the same principal had nothing to say about it. And they went in there and took pictures of him too. They took pictures of that kid that they would not suspend, but they suspended this 18-year-old. And he's now at an alternative school. And I know his family is suing. It's all leading to us hating ourselves and killing ourselves as part of the process. So they're talking about, the rising suicide rates among the Black youth. For boys, the stress is often around masculinity and messages that teach them to shrink themselves in order to avoid discrimination. Mm, mm, mm. Well, we don't have to make you feel comfortable. Okay, we're not under any obligation to do that. That's what they're really saying here. Well, you shrink yourself and you do this and do that. No, you do those things. We're not doing that. So, anyway, how do you disrupt the cycle? Well, I would say number one, homeschool your kids. If they don't have access to your children, there are no microaggressions for them to deal with every day. All right. If you spend more time teaching them instead of Karen or Darren, they would be way better off anyway. And if you go back during the lockdown, they said Black children were doing exceptionally well. That's because they weren't dealing with the same racism every day. That's why they were doing so much better with remote learning. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to tell me what you think. I agree with a lot of what's in here, but the way you disrupt this whole thing is, like I said, you got to take your children out of these situations. You don't have to allow this at all, you know? And I think sometimes parents like, what other choice do I have? There's always a choice. And you always got to choose the best one for your child. The hell with the system. The hell with what they even want. Those things are not important. If more of us would homeschool, you could quash all of this stuff. It would be a non factor in your life and in the life of your child. And yes, or if you don't, try to find a school that your child will fit right into, Maybe the teacher and the students look just like them and they won't be dealing with all these stresses. So tell me what you think. I do believe racism does directly affect your health, it not only for children, but for adults too. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.